Okay, guys, welcome back to a new video here. So today we're going to be talking about Joe Rogan getting called out and honestly decimated by fellow comedian Mark Maron, basically going after him, basically saying, you're one of the reasons why Trump got elected. Your influence has been extremely detrimental to the comedy scene, and basically all you and your comedy friends, like Tony Hinchcliffe, for example, all your guys' shtick is it's just anti wokeness. It just that's your whole thing. That's your whole thing. It's right wing talking point, and it's kind of getting tacky. That's what Mark Maron's basically whole point is. And Rogan responds, and he's clearly not happy. In fact, he actually resorts to a number of things that, I mean, some of the things he says are just so insane. And we're going to show you the clip of this, and we're going to respond to it because it is just over the top. Like, how does Rogan say this stuff and not realize, like, you can't be serious right now? And that's how insane he sounds. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you the Mark Maron clip of him calling out Rogan and Rogan's response. So here's the first clip, guys, of Mark Maron calling out Joe Rogan and the Austin comedy scene, and we'll talk about it after. And by the way, guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm. And if you want to become a member, hit the join button below, and my Patreon's also below. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. Let's try and get there soon. Here's the first clip, and we'll talk about it in just
hackneyed. To be in a fucking club where, I'm walking down the hall at the comedy club and, in one room, someone's doing their bit about trans people. And then I get down the hall and there's someone on stage going, well, I guess I got to do my bit about trans people. Like, no, you don't. You don't. It's hack now. I mean, you guys got the freedom you wanted. You can now say whatever you want. They're defeated. Their rights have been denied. The policies that you guys encouraged with your stupid material are now policy. And now, half the people under the umbrella of anti-woke, we've lost a tremendous amount of democratic-leaning ideas and movements. So whether they knew it or not, that's what they were spearheading. So now it's reality, and you want to still keep kicking them?
I don't know that the comedians have had that much power.
Are you fucking out of your mind?
No, I'm being serious.
Joe Rogan. I'm not gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't separate. Like, if the movement is like, we're being censored. No, you're not. You're not. There's no constitutional censorship issue with your free speech. You say things, and in a democratic shit show of an environment, like Twitter or whatever, there's cultural pushback, but that's a specific issue. To frame it as some sort of free speech problem was a misdirect. It wasn't. It wasn't a free speech problem. It was that people were getting cultural pushback. That is not a constitutional issue. No one was being put in jail for saying anything. That's a free speech issue. But my problem is you're going to start talking about anti-woke, and that's going to be your point of view. That's going to be your ideological, grounding for what you do. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, and what Maron is talking about there is basically the Austin comedy scene where Joe Rogan went, and he left Texas, guys. Let's be very clear. One of the reasons why he left, California, was because of the quote-unquote wokeness of California, and he wanted a new audience in Texas, which obviously is going to be a more right-wing audience. And frankly, we've seen Rogan take a much, much more right-wing turn since moving to Texas. I mean, he endorsed Trump to be president, okay? And that absolutely had tremendous influence. Okay? And again, a lot of Rogan, for example, his comedy and also his commentary on the podcast the last few years now has been, hey, comedy is going to be legal now under Trump. Trump is a free speech president, et cetera, which is kind of hilarious when you see what's going on right now, where, of course, they just made a law that made flag burning illegal, which, of course, is a landmark Supreme Court case. He also, again, we're seeing people being deported for criticizing the state of Israel on college campuses, and that's extremely anti-free speech. But Rogan, again, we're seeing some pushback, but none to the root of what Rogan said. Oh, comedy is legal, censorship is going to be free under Trump. That's obviously not been the case whatsoever. But again, Rogan, let's be honest, is kind of a partisan right winger now. And he's not as willing to criticize Trump as he used to be in the past. There's no question about that. He's also getting dinner with him. Again, that's kind of what Maron is talking about, where a lot of it just right wing hackery at this point from Rogan. And that's who he's referring to. He's referring to Rogan. You even see him name drop him a little bit there. And again, Howie Mandel is also wrong when he says, oh, I'm skeptical of the influence that he had. And Maron's like, what are you talking about? This guy endorsed Trump. He had him on the podcast. Andrew Schultz had him on the podcast and gave let's be honest, give him a softball interview, okay? And again, Trump himself even said that Joe Rogan won me the election. This has been reported. He even said this to Rogan, you won me the election, okay? And Rogan, right before the election, endorsed him. He knew it would be a big deal. and which is why he did it. Okay, let's be honest. That's why he endorsed Trump, because he knew it would be a huge deal. Okay, and again, the idea that they were censored for years. Rogan was talking about this on his podcast about censorship and wokeness for years on his podcast. It wasn't as if that, oh, he was being censored. That's ridiculous. Was there cultural pushback, which is what Maron's talking about, and cancel culture? Did that overstep in many areas? Sure, of course it did in many aspects. But the idea that you couldn't say anything and that you were going to jail for saying certain things, it's not true. It's not true at all. In fact, Rogan had a huge audience, has a huge audience, has been saying the same stuff for years. So the idea that there was this censorship of Joe Rogan not being able to say what he wanted to is ridiculous. It's not true. And that's what Maron's talking about. Your entire kind of comedy is, and your commentary now, it's very partisan, right-wing hackery at this point. Well, I'll just be totally honest about that, guys. It just is. And Rogan says, "Oh, I'm not a right-winger." Yes, you are. You endorse Donald Trump, okay? And you're viewed as a top ally of his. That's just the reality of the situation. And here's Joe Rogan now. We're going to talk through the second clip of Rogan reacting to this and some of the things he says here. Oh, I'm not anti-woke. What? What are you talking about? Here's a clip and we'll talk about it in just a second reacting. I mean,
they're all Republicans now.
It's the things I hear people apply to this comedy scene. I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys?
So dumb.
It's
so
ridiculous.
Dumb.
It's ridiculous.
I read another article the other day about us being an anti-woke comedy scene. Like, look, why not just do great stuff? Go do great stuff. Don't worry about what we're doing. And we're not anti-woke. There's no anti-woke. There's like a ton of left-wing comics at the mothership. It's like, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah,
we're not dwelling on that. We're making fun.
Okay, so that's obviously insane. I mean, the idea that Rogan and a lot of the other comedians at the mothership have been not anti-woke, that is, it's almost I mean, it is laughable. I mean, what are you that might be the most ridiculous thing he's ever said. What are we talking about? There's probably thousands of hours at this point of content of Rogan taking a shit on wokeness. It's his main kind of area of content over the last few years. Let's be totally honest, okay? And I just looked up on Twitter, for example, because Joe Rogan woke. Just hear a number of things he said about wokeness over the years. Okay, it's just a week ago. Joe Rogan, woke is clearly a cult. It's a mind virus. Again, using the Elon Musk framework. Oh, it's the woke mind virus. It's like whatever this thing is, this leftism, this Marxist sort of ideology that's waving its flag and indoctrinating people in this country. It's very similar to all kinds of religions. Yeah, sounds like a guy who's not anti-woke. Joe Rogan goes off on the woke madness. You're encouraging mental illness. You're encouraging virtue signaling. Yeah, definitely not anti-woke. Joe Rogan says customers have had enough of woke messaging. Stop shoving this down our throat. Okay, at least at least admit you're anti-woke and say that the idea that you're not anti-woke, what are you talking about, Joe? That is so utterly ridiculous. It's insane. And like I said, guys, he literally moved to Texas in order to combat wokeness. That was, I mean, again, he wanted to challenge kind of the cultural norms. He said this at the time on his podcast, one of the reasons why he moved to Texas. Because of COVID, for example, COVID restrictions were far more lax in Texas, but wokeness was obviously a big part of it. And again, he endorsed Donald Trump, guys, and it was a massive, massive reason why Kamala Harris lost the election. You can say, oh, it didn't swing it, but there's no question it had influence. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done that, obviously. He's, again, just to be clear, Rogan for years said he would never have Trump on the podcast because he doesn't want to rehabilitate his image. But we had him on, and he basically gave him a softball interview. Let's just be totally honest about that, okay? And you're even having other people like Shane Gillis call out the comedy scene in Austin, basically saying, hey, this has gotten a little too far, a little over the top with the right-wing hackery here. I mean, he's like taking jokes about it. So even the Shane Gillises of the world are going after Rogan, okay? Or at least hinting at it. And again, he endorsed him. And sure, Rogan went on to say, oh, a lot of these comedians, people just criticizing, I think they're just jealous. And is there maybe a little bit of that going on? Sure, it's possible. It's possible that's going on. I'm not completely denying that possibility, but that doesn't mean what he's saying is not 100% accurate. Okay. And I just think it's the idea that Trump was going to be a free speech president. Comedy is legal now. That's why you're going to endorse him. One of the main reasons. It's utterly ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. And I think Mark Maron makes a good point. The right-wing hackery is just getting old. It just is. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of comedians like Bill Burr, for example, kind of rise up through the ranks right now, even more than he was before, because people are kind of sick of, at least a segment of people are just sick of the right-wing hackery. So let me know what you guys think of this video, guys. Whether you agree with me, disagree with me, or not, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm, and it helps out the channel immensely. Hit that subscribe button, and if you want to become a member, hit the join button below. My Patreon's also below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good day, and I'll see you later.